What's going on, great people in all of the land? I'm your host, Nicholas Wilcox. My co-host alongside me, Johnny Main. Johnny, did you have a good Christmas?
I had a decent Christmas, man. Can't complain. Steelers got beat down pretty good on Christmas Day, so that kind of dampened my day, but not too bad, man. Had a great time with the kids and the family. So yeah, man. I guess overall, man, as my kid has been saying, I'll give it 8 out of 10. Could have been 10 out of 10 if the Steelers would have won.
All right, yeah, makes sense. And then you got a sweatshirt on today. You want to tell people what that's all about?
It's my guy, man. My guys, man. M-Town stand up. Ja Morant, Zach Randolph. Even though Ja got banged up, man, like everything I touch seems to be blowing up in smoke these days, man. The Steelers, the Vols, Ja Morant's injury. So hoping we can bounce back today, man, and get this DFS train rolling. And
don't get a hug from you right now.
Don't. Hopefully we get this DFS thing rolling today, man, and maybe another tourney takedown. As we pretty much are approaching this is the last week of meaningful football, and it's trending into meaningless football, as we're going to talk about today, man, on week 17, and shutdown season is officially upon us, my man.
Oh, man, don't even start it, but let's get us started with the week 17, the fantasy football show, the DFS props, bets, picks, and start sits show for all the people that are in championship weekend games. Applaud you guys for getting there. Let's get you guys the ships, the rings, the trophies, the bragging rights, all of that. Great stuff. So for those that are their first time being here, please like and subscribe to our channel, the Fantasy Football Show. Been doing some great things this year. Been giving you guys some great takes as well, and some takes that just went sour, but it is what it is. We can't get everything right here, but look to do our best to do so when it comes to all things fantasy football. But yeah, like John said, it opened up. It's gonna be a ton of things that we're looking at right now when it comes to it's gonna be a short slate anyway, because there's games I played yesterday on Saturday, or 2 games on Wednesday, there was 1 game on Thursday, so already 6 games off the board, and then we'll have the rest of the 1 o'clock. We'll have 2 4 o'clock games, and then Sunday night, Monday night. So it's gonna be a pretty short, slate of games for this week, because it's all pieced out and pieced together. So we look forward to getting right into it. Might as well get right into a divisional matchup where, well, both quarterbacks are out. Their starting quarterbacks are both out. Obviously, the Cowboys. Dak Prescott's been out for weeks, but now Jalen Hurts officially not playing with a concussion, and that's really unfortunate for everyone that's had Jalen Hurts on their rosters all year. That has relied on him, and again, you can't predict injuries, but it really sucks that this happened with Jalen Hurts. Right now, the Cowboys are 7.5 underdogs in Philly, and the over right now is 37.5 because, like we talked about, no Jalen Hurts. Kenny Pickett is starting for the Eagles today. That's somewhat the bad news for the Eagles. The good news is that with a win, they still keep pace for the number 1 seed. The Lions play on Monday night, and the Niners are going to look to probably give them everything they can handle. But the Vikings are also on when it comes to the number 1 seed for the NFC. Vikings are still on the prowl when it comes to that as well. With a win against Green Bay, they are they are still with it in as well. So yeah, it's still an important game for the Eagles to win if they want to still go after that number 1 seed with a few games left. So yeah, I mean, look, Cowboys been playing pretty tough all year. Even though they lost Dak Prescott, this defense come around a little bit. So I mean, things are just looking weird and just across the board. But I would say like the Cowboys getting 7.5 here, I think it's a little bit of a mistake. I know the Eagles have been playing shutdown like football as a team for most of the year, but I do think 7.5 is just a little too rich. So if I were to take that, I'd probably take the 7.5. But the over/under, I think, is still a little too low. I know Kenny Pickett, he's still, he's not.
Don't you say it. Don't you say it. Don't you say it. Don't you?
I'm not saying it, but I would say that I think both of these quarterbacks are still capable to at least getting over 38 points. We all know Saquon Barkley going for the rushing title. That's going to be something to monitor as well in this game. I think Barkley, when it comes to all things considered, like we're hoping for the best of game for him. In spite of Jalen Hurts not playing, but I think in terms of Barkley, like when it comes to DFS, like is he your cash game lineup guy? Pretty much so. Because it's looking for running backs today, it's either you go with the creme de la creme, or you go with a couple of guys that may not get as much ownership, which is a good thing, but you don't know what their overall outcome is going to be. So, Johnny, what do you say when it comes to all encompassing of this game in general?
I agree with you, man, just around Dallas and what they've been doing defensively. I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Took them a few weeks ago, man, to beat Cincinnati. That game was really close. But like Dallas has been playing really good football defensively. So for me, like, I don't know, man. Like, I just think this is going to be one of those really super ugly games, bro. Like, obviously goes without saying, the Cowboys over the last handful of weeks, man, giving up 89 yards, which is actually one of the better numbers in the NFL right now, as you're talking about. And then, like, you're talking about Kenny Pickett, man, like, I don't know if he gets there, man, because I think with Kenny Pickett, it's a different ball game when he comes into the game and teams haven't had a chance to prepare or scout or whatever. But now teams have had a chance to prepare and scout. And obviously, at this point, man, we know what the game plan is. The game plan is to give the ball to Saquon Barkley, but against this style defense. And the Commanders last week made Kenny Pickett try to beat them. Like, they didn't give up. They played five defensive linemen on the field at certain points in time in that game. So just to stack up against the run, and I think you'll see a very similar approach with the Cowboys this week going against the Eagles. Cooper Rush, though, man, like, I keep talking about it. He's low-key been solid. Obviously no CD Lamb as well today as they shut him down for the season. That's another one we talked about, shutdown season.
Yep.
And then as far as like DFS goes, man, like you were asking, like, what's the play, man? Saquon right now on DraftKings is coming in at 23% owned. So obviously everybody's going to be playing Saquon today. He's one of the more popular plays as far as DFS goes. But for me, man, I look at him and I think about a place where potentially I could get a little bit different if I don't feel confident about this. And one of the players that I do feel confident about moving off of and getting into is James Cook. So that's just something just to kind of keep in mind. We'll talk about that game obviously a little bit later on, but I'm steering pretty clear away from this other than potentially the Dallas defense. I don't know, man. GPP, I'm obviously going to play some Saquon, but I'm not playing too many cash lineups. So for me, the only person that's really interesting in this game is Saquon, and I'll take a run on a couple of these defenses here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how logic, as far as like how your logic would go for strategy, makes sense in a way, because I still see opportunities where we can get a little different here. Like Devontae Smith, 5,800 DraftKings.
Yeah.
Like, we all know if Pickett's not going to, launch the ball down the field, he's going to check it down. And with no Goddard in the mix, I do think this might be a nice spot for Devontae Smith. 8 targets last game as well. Like, this could be an opportunity for him to, showcase well, especially if the Eagles sustain drives. So I think that's a misprice. I think 6,300 would be the nice price for Devontae Smith here. But I think in terms of how, the rest of the guys in his range go, yeah, I probably wouldn't take Devontae Smith, but I would say in the right situation, the right lineup, I think you definitely can. 8,600 for Barkley on DraftKings, like you said, 23% of people are already playing him. It's just incentive at this point in time. Like, we all know the Cowboys are going to stop the run against Barkley, but again, Barkley is
Barkley. He's Barkley.
So,
he's Barkley.
Yeah, it feels a little weird trying to fade him at this point in the season where we all know he's looking to go for that. All his teammates want him to go for that.
It's not another
player we'll talk about later, but
it's not even necessarily the fade for me, man. It's just like, does he get there in that respect with this offense looking the way that it does? And like, I think this is just going to this game right here might be a microcosm as to why before the season started, people were saying no on Saquon Barkley, versus the other 16 weeks of what we've seen here, because this game is going to feel very much like a New York Giant game for him in this situation.
Ouch.
Obviously, the offensive line is better, like we know that, right? So like I don't think it'll be that bad, but I think obviously for him to be one of the higher priced players on the slate, just for him to be able to pay that off, it's going to be really, really tough. Not that I don't think Saquon Barkley, like in season-long leagues, is going to have a terrible game, because I don't believe that. I just think from a DFS side of things, man, I'm just going to I'm going to play some, but I'm not going to go all the way in like I normally do on a week-to-week basis.
That's fair to say. I think, like you say, if you're playing multiple lineups, I think Barkley deserves definitely to be a spot in there for sure, as far as like stability lineups. But when it comes to variant lineups, GPP lineups, trying to take something down, like you might have to fade Barkley. Moving on to the New York Jets.
Ooh,
talking about them, right? Here we go is right. Jets getting 10 on the road going into Buffalo. Buffalo, with the Chiefs win on Wednesday against the Steelers, they are overall the number one seed in the AFC. The Bills are pretty much going to look to lock up the 2 seed with a win here. Going against the Jets, they're at home, division game. We saw what happened last week with Buffalo, where they kind of played down to the Patriots last week. I don't see that scenario here. I would just take the over here, 45.5 for, the Jets. Again, probably just playing for pride at this point. And, the Buffalo Bills, like with Josh Allen, you're hoping that this game could be paced up a little bit for both sides in terms of the over. But, look, Josh Allen on the cusp of being the MVP. Unless Lamar Jackson has something to say about that again. But it does look like this game in particular, like it's not too much of incentive-ish. Like if Buffalo gets out to a big lead in the first half, like I could see them pulling starters, stuff like that. Look, what do you say to this game, Johnny? When it comes to DFS side of things, when it comes to season long, you starting Shakir, like it's a spot to start him, Dalton Kincaid, for the Jets side of things, like is Garrett Wilson still a nice play still? I'm still playing Adams, I'm still playing Hall, I'm still playing Wilson, but what do you say overall to this game?
Yeah, man, like it's tough because like the weather could also play a factor in this, but I'm trying not to think about that too much because the Bills kind of playing shitty weather all the time. Your boy Devontae Adams, man, has been playing ball for real, man, over the last handful of weeks, man. Him and Aaron Rodgers are kind of getting back to that old thing, you know what I mean? So it's too little too late, all right? But from a fantasy perspective, we just seen it a few weeks ago where they just completely broke the slate. I don't know how this is going to go, man. This feels very trappy to me. Like you mentioned, like they're playing for pride. And the Bills, it feels trappy, man. Like the Bills, just kind of maybe looking past these guys potentially. I like James Cook, man, a lot, man, in this matchup here, man. Like for sure. Like I said, like he's the guy that like I'm getting to with like just in terms of like ownership. There's not a lot of people playing him today. And he's been one of those guys where realistically, to keep it funky with you, you're probably in the fantasy championship if you have him on your roster in season-long leagues. He's been a pleasant surprise, for a lot of owners, somebody that like I just missed the boat on, man. But like I do think that this is either going to be a James Cook game or either we're going to get another Josh Allen epic performance. I know you just talked about Lamar Jackson MVP, but listen, Joe Burrow is still having some things to say about what's going on in that race. And then so is Saquon Barkley. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. So maybe this is just another opportunity for Josh Allen to highlight the fact that he is or could be the league MVP, the highest priced quarterback on the slate, I do believe, at about 10% ownership. So like for me, man, I really do like this. And then another call out as well. For me, man, again, one of my favorite metrics, I talk about it every week, adjusted completion percentage. On this slate, the Jets are actually 5th in the highest adjusted completion percentage, meaning that like they're able to complete a lot of passes. So like I wouldn't be shocked, man, if Josh Allen does Josh Allen things today, but also too, man, this is also an opportunity for James Cook to get out there and do his thing, man. And when we look at like the rushing metrics for the Jets, here over the last couple of weeks here, they're just slightly giving up over 100 yards, so they're not bad, They're actually one of the better defenses like in that area over the last couple of weeks, right? But like also too, they haven't seen anything. I shouldn't say they haven't seen anything, but this Buffalo Bills offense it's rolling now. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's out there from Mac Hollins to Khalil Shakir to Dalton Kincaid, to Amari Cooper to Dawson Knox, Ty Johnson. Like they're loaded. So I think for me, man, I hate every game this week when it comes to over-unders. I'm probably not even playing any of like the actual game stuff, just more DFS side. But if someone asked me or made me pick, I would say I'm probably going to take the under in this game, and it's only because of Jets tempo or lack of tempo, I should say. And every time I've shit on the Bills defense, they've came out to play. So this will probably be the week where they'll give up 40 points probably.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for a competitive game here. Out of all the games here, like, I'm saying, I think this has an opportunity to be a little bit more competitive than some, other than the Panthers Bucks. I think has an interesting spin on things, but I think this is another game where like we're hoping that both offenses come out and do what they need to do here. But again, it's the Buffalo Bills, it's the New York Jets. Like, that's all I'll say to that. But moving on to another game that's doesn't have much to say anymore. But the Colts getting 7.5 on the road going into New York. Drew Lock started for the Giants. Joe Flacco started for the Colts. Anthony Richardson out with injury. And, the Colts came out and said, hey, this is our guy for the future. So, so that's good to hear. But at the same time, like, the Colts have been weird all year. So it might go in the offseason. Like, they might pluck your guy Justin Fields. Like, who knows? But I would say that, Colts getting 7.5, like, I guess makes some sense. But because Flacco's still a veteran quarterback, he's not going to look to turn over the football and stuff. Jonathan Taylor been on a freaking heater. Like, good Lord, man. It's Jonathan Taylor. Now Jonathan Taylor, huh?
Yeah. Like, bro, like, this is what it is, man. And I think, like, he gets a New York Giants defense, gave up over 129 rushing yards over the last 3 weeks. So this feels like another. It might not be a 202 or 208 3-touchdown game. It might be, 101. You know what I mean? Like it could be a game like that. But obviously, going into this game, you got to feel like the Colts are absolutely going to lean on the run here in this game going against the Giants. And then you also have like Malik Neighbors on the other side of things, man, who's still battling that toe injury. How much do they play him? How many snaps does he play? Tyrone Tracy, same thing, man. A couple of their young bucks here in this game still, trying to highlight what they got going into next year. And then another player like to call out is Josh Downs, man. Obviously, a lot of people. One of the things we can't forget about, man, is this Colts receiving core. Doesn't necessarily highlight when Anthony Richardson is on the field, but with Joe Flacco, you get a little bit of a different feel with that. So don't hesitate to play any of those guys in GPP formats when we talk about like from the DFS side of things. Obviously, people are going to have revisionist history and go back to Joe Flacco. You like my big word, don't you? You know what I'm saying? My vernacular. So Jonathan Taylor, man, 25% owned. Josh Downs, 25% owned as well when we get to DraftKings. So obviously the field thinks that this game definitely has some potential to put some points up on the board. So for me, I don't like bad football teams I just don't. But also too, like this could be a place where the slate could get blown open because they're two bad football teams. So, just give me – I'll take a little bit of JT, man, in GPPs for sure. I'll play a sprinkle of Malik Neighbors and a sprinkle of Josh Downs. And I'll probably would play a little bit of Joe Flacco in GPP. I think I might actually put him in there for maybe like 1 or 2%, my GPPs. But overall, man, I think, this game screams under. Smells like under in here. What's that? Underdog. So yeah, man, that's what I got.
That's not a shout out, people.
No, it's not. It's not. That's a Michael Scott. That's a Michael Scott. That's a Michael Scott. So yeah, man, I think that's really it, man. You just got two teams right here. One team is playing for pride. The other team is on a hope and a wish and a prayer that everything stacks up well for them and maybe I don't even know. Have they been mathematically eliminated yet or what?
The Colts technically, yes, because
so then
Cincinnati,
these are just
right
two
in
teams
position
playing for
now
pride then. Yeah,
with
these
that
are two
win.
teams playing for pride and incentive, man. So yeah. So I got even less interest in this game.
Yeah, right. That's even more where like now it's like, yeah, if Denver took care of business last night, you know what I'm saying? They had multiple opportunities to do so. That was a good game, by the way.
It was actually, man.
Definitely
It
a good
was.
game. Mad Chase Brown got hurt late in that game, but also because fuck the Bengals, because they always want to run the frick. They always want to throw the football in the end zone.
That's them, bro. That's them. Oh, I see what you did there. I like what you did here later. I see what you did.
I know. I know.
Oh, man.
All right, on to a game where, again, Panthers underdog by 10 points going into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay needs to keep pace for their own division title because the Falcons have the lead on them currently when it comes to a tiebreaker. And the Bucs, they fumbled the ball last week against Dallas, and now we're in a position where if the Bucs lose this game, they're out. Panthers wouldn't mind trying to win this one again. This last time these two teams played was overtime a few weeks ago. And yeah, look, Panthers have been playing more feisty football lately. No Chuba Hubbard now.
Chuba Hubbard. Sad.
Yeah,
sad.
Very. It's
sad.
very, very. I know some people are definitely was, just looking to keep him, going for these overall playoffs, but it's unfortunate. But I will say that, we got Raheem Blackshear potentially starting, Mike Boone.
Scott Fishbowl darling.
Lord, Mike Boone.
Yeah, it's gross.
For Carolina, Xavier Leggette's back for this offense for Carolina. We got Thielen, Coker in that offense. The Bucs side of things is what we'll probably be paying attention to because Mike Evans needs, believe he needs 186 yards, I believe, for 1,000. Let me double check that because I think that's what he needs on the year.
But needless to say, for him to get to the 1,000-yard mark,
right?
Yeah, there's definitely some incentive there, along with continuing their playoff hopes and aspirations, as well as they definitely let one go on Sunday night, man. But this game is this is going to be a very weird game because there's a lot of weather implications all over the country, man, between wind and rain. But what do you got for yards on them?
For Evans?
Yeah, how many you were?
186.
186.
186.
All right. Okay. All right. So obviously, you have weather implications, you have contract implications, but the one thing I want to focus on and I want to go back to the well on is our cover boy, Bucky Irving. You like how I put the space things out there for it, man. Kind of like the Captain Bucky O'Hare is kind of what I was thinking in my mind, kind of taking it back for a minute. But I just think that we seen it last week with Jonathan Taylor when he fumbled, or 2 weeks ago when he fumbled in Denver, and then last week he had the big game. I don't think it's necessarily that with Bucky Irving. I just think it's one of those things where seeing Rachaad White not basically put the ball on the ground, put the church's money on the ground, if you will. I think there's opportunity for Bucky Irving to get back in the mix, obviously, and Todd Bowles knows that, and I think you're going to get number one overall running back workload production from him today. So I'm excited about playing him today in this game. The Panthers have been a team, even still, as well as they've been playing. I shouldn't say as well as they've been playing, but they've been playing improved football, and even for the improvements that they've made on, in terms of defensively and offensively, they still are a team that you can move the ball on for sure. So I think, having Bucky Irving here today, the Panthers, man, 209 yards over the last 3 weeks, explosive runs, they're giving it up. We know what Bucky Irving can do. I think this is what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a Bucky Irving day. Now, if the weather cooperates with us, I'm going to go back to the well again with Jalen McMillan, one of the guys you were calling out, during the, before the season started. I think a few weeks before draft season started, you and I were kind of talking, and you started to kind of warm up to him a little bit more. And I think, we're going to continue to see that from him. He's a guy that his ownership did just kind of spike. in the last run, coming in at like 16%, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And then like Mike Evans, like we know he has the incentive to get to the 1,000-yard mark. Do the Carolina Panthers just try to double it up and make sure that he doesn't do that? There's no Cade Otton today as well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think that's another place, like if you really want to get I don't want to call it contrarian. Well, yeah, I guess you can call it contrarian, but like you have Payne Durham, you can get to almost at a mint price at 2,900 on DraftKings. And then all of a sudden out of left field, the Carolina Panthers are a team now that, you know, you don't mind having them offensively for DFS purposes or even in season-long purposes. I even seen a couple people on Twitter talking about how they had to start Bryce Young, and it looks like I was just a little too early with them. They should have just benched him in the first 4 weeks, so that way I could have reaped the benefits for this, and maybe it'd be me and you playing in that cookout league. But Bryce Young rates out really well today, man. He rates as a top 5 quarterback for me anyway, as far as GPP and just overall on the DFS slate, right? He ranks as a top 5 quarterback play for me. So there's a lot of ways you can get there. You got Coker, you got Leggett, you got Adam Thielen. And then like I said, man, this game could be very interesting or it could be a dud, but I want all the Bucky Irving I can get in this game, man.
Yeah, same. He's our cover boy.
Yeah, I want all. I want it all, man. I want it all. Want it all, man.
He's our cover boy. It makes sense. Scrub Bowl. Titans.
Love it.
I'll freaking pick him. And over right now, 37.5. Like, look, like both of these teams have gotten on our nerves all year long. The Titans in particular, because there are spots where the Titans have played good football, but there's also they've just been not able to either cover spreads or cover as being an underdog. Like, just like, like like this team has been buku bananas nuts. Really thought that the Titans would just look a little bit better this year in general. I was definitely on them to be a better team this year, and they just have not been that. The Jaguars, like, look, like, I know people were like, I feel like the people were kind of overrating the Jaguars coming into the year, in terms of how good they might look better and stuff like that. This and Trevor Lawrence, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence doesn't deserve what he got for the extension, but it's still looking very murky. If it wasn't for, we probably see him right now if it wasn't for that dirty freaking hit by Shazier, the Texans, but I digress. But in terms of these two teams in general, like, to pick them, which way are we going? Tony Pollard out for the Titans today. So you have that. You got 2 backup quarterbacks playing today, Mac Jones, Mason Rudolph. Look, like just a ton of mess. If I'd say the over, because these games always go weird, right? Like this game could be a 10-3 or like or 6-3 Thursday night showdown.
Yep.
God,
Yep.
Oh Lord. Or it could be a back and forth, 24-20 game where they cover the over. So I don't know. I'm probably just gonna say the over because I like overs. I don't like cheering for unders. Cheering for unders is so trash because it's like you cheer for the under and all of a sudden, like, teams are scoring. So, from a DFS side of things, like there's a ton of things to like take advantage of from a value perspective. I think Spears is someone that is going to get consideration. 5,400. And overall, he is a guy that scored, back-to-back games of touchdowns because he's been a vulture. And now he gets a full workload. We saw what he did. You saw what he did when Tony Pollard has been just weird. They stay. We're told that he's a starter, so we're assuming that starter, carries stuff like that, usage of volume continues to get to his way. But back-to-back games, Spears has scored over 20 points for DK. In both matchups. Somehow he's gotten there, and now he gets a full workload share today. So 5,400 is pretty much a lock for me. It's all but
you already know. I'm about to get ready to go off.
So go right ahead, my man.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen with Tajay Spears. I'm going to play him in DFS because you don't have no choice but to play him based off the price value. But you mentioned all the full workload. He's going to be like your kid after you've made this amazing meal. They take 3 bites, they go upstairs to play, and 30 minutes later, Dad, I'm hungry. That's what it's going to be.
Boy.
It's going to be that right there. Huh? Yeah, it's going to be that right there. He throws up 20 points when nobody's playing him and when nobody's expecting it. But now we've got everybody in the world watching this guy, and what's going to happen? He's not going to come through for us. But I'm playing him because I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice, America. We don't have a choice. We got to play him. We got to play him.
You don't have no choices.
We got no choice. We got no choice. The weather's supposed to be shitty down there too. It's supposed to be rain, supposed to be wind. So what do? You play the running back,
football.
Right? Yeah, that's what you do. Except for I'm going to break it down for you guys, America. Guess what? It's not going to be Tajay Spears. It's going to be one of these other Jacksonville Jaguars running backs that's going to get the job done today because the Titans have absolutely sucked against the run. So let's not forget what Jonathan Taylor did last week. Obviously, different ball game, right? Jonathan Taylor is an elite running back when we think about, what it is that he brings to the table for sure. But just the Titans as a whole, giving up 169 yards rushing over the last 3 weeks. Obviously, 200 and some change of that was Jonathan Taylor last week. Absolutely just putting the D on him as far as that goes. And then the Jags have also been giving up 5.1 percentage of explosive runs, which ranks in the top 5 here today. So this for me, man, obviously there's an avenue, I think, where Tajay Spears does come through for us. But man, golly, dude, I was looking at just quick side rant. I was looking at the player pool, the pick 'em pool, the one that I'm in here locally. And I had a week, dude, where I went 5-11. And that was a week where I took the Titans. And there were some other things, obviously, that went wrong. Without that week, man, I'd be sitting in the top 12, bro. But the Titans have burned me so many times. And obviously, I picked them to win more than 3 times. So clearly, that's an L on me. Clearly. But yeah, man, like I said, dude, I just think overall, again, man, this is a place, man, all over the country today, man, weather is something that we really have to take into consideration and we got to pay attention to. Not so much the wind, the rain doesn't really bother me as much, man. And I you hear people talk about it. It's the wind. It's the wind, man. But actually,
anything with 20, 25 miles per hour,
right? Pay attention to. One of the guys that actually rated out outstanding, man, for this week was Mac Jones. And I'm not going to be afraid to play him today. Again, probably going to blow up in my face, but I think this is one of the things, man. I want to continue to keep driving home to everybody, man, that plays DFS. You got to take some risks sometimes. And it might look like a risk on paper, but hey, man, I'm following the data. I'm following, the eye test and Mac Jones rates out, well. So in the GPP side of things, man, I can play a little bit of him. I can play him and I can feel okay with him by getting a little bit over the field. So that's one of my other things. And obviously if you do that, you got to like the Jacksonville Jaguars passing game. So I think 37.5, again, man, weather holds up. It could be an over. This is one to pay attention to for live betting as well.
Totally. Glad you said that. Raiders Saints, bro. Quickly. Raiders lose, even though they won last week. just oh man, just more grossness. Again, 2 teams playing their backup quarterbacks.
Again, here we go.
Over 137.5.
Here we go.
Raiders getting the bump at -2 here. I think just because they have some more of their weapons offensively here in this matchup versus Saints. But boy, not a game I'm very excited for. And DFS purposes, the Saints are not gonna be owned.
I just want to throw this out there real quick. Ladies and gentlemen,
going to be owned.
When you have Nick Wilcox speechless, guys, that says a lot. Bad. When you have him speechless.
Bad. Definitely bad. It's definitely a crap show out here. It really is. And mixed with the Saints are going to be in a dome, so it's I don't know. You play Brock Bowers here, and then pick your poison with Amir Abdullah and Alexander Madison.
Yeah,
that's all I got for analysis.
No, I don't think you're wrong, man. I think right, especially on DraftKings or FanDuel, right? If you're looking to kind of get some pay down spots, man, obviously, you had mentioned, Alexander Madison or Amir Abdullah, man, are some places that I'm cool with getting to because again, these are 2 really bad football teams here. So they're gonna probably try to run the ball and see what they've got here. I'm cool with the running backs in this game. I'm cool with both of the defenses in this game. And what do you know? Guess who decides to play football today or who was active? Oh, don't tell me. is Chris Olave active today?
No.
Because okay, I was getting ready to say I seen something that said he was active today, and I was getting ready to absolutely lose my mind. But like, yeah, no, man, these are just two bad football teams, man. Just a place where you can get some pay down options defensively and at the running back position. Tight end is also a place on both sides of the ball. You got Brock Bowers, the highest on tight end. I mean, the highest price tight end. And then obviously you have Juwan Johnson. You can kind of take a look at that. Who knows what happens with Keandre Miller, man, in the running back situation for the Saints? Who knows? Like, you know, everybody and their mom was hoping and banking on him last week, and he was a no-call, no-show. Yeah. So again, you know, shout out to everybody in New Orleans who's actually buying tickets to this game because they probably couldn't even give them away, probably.
You know, they probably have, if they did, they probably found a creative way to do so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember, you know, many moons ago, man, the Grizzlies, before they were, you know, the real Memphis Grizzlies, man, they were so damn bad, dude. They'd have a shave your head night, a tattoo night. Like if you had a shaved head, you could get in. If you had a tattoo, you could get in. That's how bad they were, you know, before Zach Randolph and those guys, man. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. You got a pick for this game?
Yeah, I got a pick for this game already. Yeah, my nose. That's what I'm going to be doing while I'm watching this game is picking my nose because this is a freaking crap game. If I had to go, man, I'd say, man, I believe in what Vegas is saying. So to give me the Raiders on the road, man, I think, like, you know, there's still guys that are playing for Antonio Pierce for sure. And, you know, Riz for the Saints, man, guys are playing for him. So this might just be one of those games, man, where it's just pros versus pros and pride versus pride. But I think the Raiders, man, this feels like a game they should win. Like, you know, you want them to lose if you're a Raiders fan, so you can maybe have a better chance at, you know, potentially upgrading the position. What will the Raiders do? They'll find a way to screw it up and they'll win this football game. So yeah, give me the Raiders.
Makes a ton of sense. Yeah, moving on. 4 o'clock games.
Man.
I know, man. 4 o'clock.
Dude, you know what, man? We are flying today because these games are that bad and there's only 7 of them. These are some 33 and a half, bro. 30. Dude, I bet there might be more runs scored in a baseball game than there might be in this Dolphins and Browns game, man.
Well, that's what happened in the freaking Thursday night football game. Like,
jeez.
Look, if the Thursday night football game, we had some anticipation for it, I was going to be okay in that game. Like, you know, like, bruh. Like, now we have this. No Tua. You know what I'm saying? And DTR starting. It's like defenses should feast in this game, like, in general. 33 and a half over under is just like nasty work. Like Tyler Huntley, like potentially starting here, I believe. I think that was who they announced as a starter officially.
Gosh.
It's just like, yo, like last time we saw Tyler Huntley was Monday Night Football against Titans.
And it was not good.
Yeah. So you know, they say Tua's doubtful, but man, like I was hoping he'd play today. I was hoping he'd play today, but you know, he's taking the coward way out. You know, that's what it is.
He said he's taking the coward's way out.
Just taking the coward way out. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, get out there and play for your contract extension that you got.
Man, Miles Garrett's coming to town. Oh man, my hip hurt, bro. Yeah, my hip hurt. Right, my hip hurt.
You know, my extremity hurts.
Yeah, man. Then you got then here's the other thing, man. We've been talking about it and continuing to talk about it. You know, is the demise of Tyreek Hill being greatly exaggerated, or is it a real thing? This is something we're going to continue to talk about all off season. It's something that, like, I think a lot of fantasy managers will.
Miami didn't score 15 or more points in any of Tyler Huntley starts this season,
and it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen today either. So, like, this is a bad game, man. Overall, the Browns receivers were starting to show life, man, with Jameis Winston in there, but for some reason now they're wanting to do whatever they want to do. And then Deshaun Watson also restructured his contract. I don't know if you caught that, you know, but he said he was willing to do that. So obviously, I think I mean, like we were there. So yeah, I mean, this just makes it so maybe, like, you know, the Browns might potentially look in a different direction other than quarterback in the draft, potentially. Who knows? But yeah, this is kind of a real letdown, man, for anybody that had Devon Achane. You know, 2 guys that do have him on their fantasy teams as far as the championship goes, because he's another player that's also been impacted whenever Tua doesn't play. So this is a really tough spot, man, as well. So you think about it, man. Saquon Barkley being impacted, Devon Achane being impacted as well, man. Two of the premier running backs all year long being impacted by not having their quarterbacks. It's always like, hey, is the running back going to stay healthy? But really what we're finding, guys, is an extension of the running backs is obviously the quarterback, because obviously they're what makes everything tick. So
and the thing is,
real letdown, man.
It is a real letdown. But if there's any hope, it's like, you're hoping that, in a situation with Barkley, is that, that Pickett opens up things just enough for Barkley to get there. For Achane, like, you're just praying to the gods.
Just praying to the gods. That's it. That's it.
Point, man. It's all up to you, Lord. Like, it's all up to you now. Achane could potentially get there receiving wise, but it only takes one play for Achane to really get there. You're just hoping that Tyler Huntley does do the same things that this offense has been doing all year. That's Jonnu Smith, and that's Achane just dumping the ball down. Because again, with Myles Garrett coming at you, like the quick thing you should be doing is checking the ball down. No Jalen Waddle today as well. So it's like, again, Tyreek Hill owners, man, like, including myself, where I need to rely on him on the championship game today, like, just not the best spot to rely on Dolphins players at all without Tua. Like, this offense definitely does like take an ugly turn when he's not there. I don't know,
big
man.
win and big.
I'm rooting for the tie. Damn it!
And this game right here might have some of the highest winds that we have. I'm seeing winds anywhere between 20 to 37 miles an hour, man.
So keep on giving the ball to Achane, man. Whatever.
Yeah.
At this point, like, good Lord, man. The other 4 o'clock game, which is the most.
Here we go, baby.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Ooh, finally, we can get a little excited here.
Yeah.
Packers and the Vikings, pretty much a pick 'em. The Packers technically are a 1-point dog going to Minnesota. Packers 11-4, been playing phenomenal football lately, including the first shutout of the season from Monday night against Saints. Going into Minnesota, where Minnesota's 13th win a year, a win keeps them on pace for the number 1 seed at the NFC, and the over right now is 48.5. This is the game that we want to watch from as far as competitive goes, and it's pretty much fantasy games as well. Yeah. Can both of these teams consistently do the pace that they did earlier on in the year, where Green Bay squeaked this game out, but it was more in terms of Minnesota squeaked this game out earlier on in the season, but it was more about Green Bay kind of a lot of garbage time late in that game, got them back in it a little bit, and then they made it a game. But I'm hoping for the same thing for both sides. This is probably the DFS game, the stack of the week, because of both of these offense, both of these teams have a lot to play for. In terms of, again, how this game went before, like, you're hoping that Green Bay can finally stop running the football. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been running the football. Like I said, we talked about before with the Eagles and the freaking Packers. They've been 2 teams that from the year prior have been running the football a ton more. So now it's like, with hopefully Minnesota giving them, giving them the work in a matchup where they could go back and forth. You're hoping for Jordan Loves, all the Green Bay receivers, Tucker Kraft, all these guys can help you when it comes to DFS and also your fantasy lineups. Christian Watson, is he in? Because last time I saw him, he was definitely on the fringe of not being playing today.
He did not practice on Friday. So I think
that's questionable last time I saw it too. So
yeah, and from the way that things are looking, it's looking like it would be a no-go. I think, what did I see? It was a knee. So I know we were kind of joking around about the hamstring, so it was a knee. But I mean, why you're looking at that? Like, one of the things, like, I'll say,
Tom Pelissero says he's unlikely to play today.
Okay,
and
all right.
People in the Packers beat is saying that he's unlikely to play too.
Fair enough.
Jaden Reed season, let's go.
Man, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Let's go, man. But no, one of the other things, like you were talking about, like garbage time in this game, man, I want to call this out too. Man, that was also the first game that Jordan Love had came back from that injury from week 1.
He still looked good.
And he started off crazy slow. crazy slow. And then, he was able to get them back into the game. So I think, like, to your point, man, I think this is definitely like the fantasy play, of the week, man, the game to stack here for sure. You got a lot of the Packers pass catchers are cheap in relation to their price. And then, like you mentioned, man, like Josh Jacobs and what he's been able to do for this offense. So I'm gonna stay away from him. Last time they played, he had 9 for 51 and 4 catches for 27 yards. So they were able to hold him in check. So I'm gonna think that the Vikings will still be able to hold him in check and potentially make the Packers one-dimensional and have to throw the football. And then, man, like these are two of my favorite teams, man, like in terms of this season, right? Like Jordan Love was a guy, he was my guy. Jordan Love was my guy at quarterback this year, and it didn't quite pan out. And then we've seen Sam Darnold start to progress, and Kevin O'Connell, man, in this offense. Like, we talk about it all the time, man. Like, he's the one, man. He's a quarterback pimp is what he is, man. You know what I mean? That's what he does. So, like, I think for me, man, and then another call out too is TJ Hawkinson in this game too would be a nice play as far as like from a DFS side of things, man. Like, just a lot of really good things, man. Like, two positions that like we've really like struggled with. They're very similar. These teams are in terms of there's 2 tight ends that we can play. They can give us, some positive points. You got 2 running backs that came from, well, obviously this is Aaron Jones' revenge game here. Let's talk about that a little bit. So you got Aaron Jones coming from the Packers to the Vikings. Then you got Josh Jacobs coming over. So you have 2 older backs who switch teams, right? The only difference really is, man, is that, the Vikings have, depending on who you talk to, the number 1 or number 2 receiver in the NFL with Justin Jefferson. And that defense, man, for the Vikings has been hella good. So I'm hoping this game gets there for sure. It's also in a controlled environment, which also makes it nice from a DFS side of things as well. So from an ownership side, you got Aaron Jones at 23, Justin Jefferson at 21, Hawkinson at 17, Addison at 16. So really what this tells me is that if you really want to get different and you want to stack this game up, really the way to go is really the Green Bay Packers side of things, because a lot of people feel like the Vikings are the way to go. So I have Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, and Jordan Love stack. Surprise, my guys. That's what I'm rolling with, man. So I'm pumped for this one. I know, right? I know.
No surprise. Yeah, I mean, who you got, Packers or Vikings?
I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I just think they're at home. They continue to keep this thing rolling, right? The one thing that's made Green Bay what it has been is just for them to be able to run the ball. And I think Jordan Love is one of those quarterbacks where maybe this year, like I said, man, maybe it was just a year too early on him, and maybe it's next year that he takes that leap, and maybe they bring in an elite wide receiver, maybe to kind of help out this group. But like right now, man, I just think like the Vikings are operating on a different planet, man. Like they have like one of the best play callers in the NFL in KOC. They got the guy that should have been our defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, bringing the heat, man, with that defense there. And they're at home, and hey, there's a lot of things on the line for them to potentially go grab that number 1 seed overall. So like I think the script is set up for all these things to happen. You pretty much have I guess at this point, I would say Sam Darnold, man, probably comeback player of the year, man, at this point. It's just been awesome to see, man. And obviously being an AFC guy and looking over at the NFC, our cousins in the NFC North, man, it's been cool to watch this.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Looking for a good game.
Same.
Just looking for a good game. That's all I'm looking for.
Same.
Looking for a good game.
Same.
Really, I don't really have too much now. What they call that? Skin in the game. I don't.
Yeah.
Just care for a good game, honestly. Sunday night football game, which should be another interesting one because the Falcons getting 3.5 in a row going into Washington. The Commanders are 10-5 in the year. Falcons need to keep pace, like we talked about earlier with the Bucks. If the Bucks lose the game against the Panthers, all the Falcons have to do is win this game, and they'd be in the postseason. But Bucks win, they have to continue to win. Looking at next week's games really quickly would be the Bucks would get The Bucks are getting the Saints next week.
Oh,
so that's it should be a game where if they get there, who knows? The Falcons are getting the Panthers next week. So if all things if Falcons just win the next two they're in, if they lose, if the Falcons lose and the Bucks also win, then the Bucks would have all they have to do is win next week because they have the 1 game lead over them. But that's playoff implications. Commanders, we already know are in the postseason. Not a very, if the Eagles somehow lose the game against Dallas, Commanders still would have a chance at the division crown if they win the next two. So that being said, this should be hopefully a good game where both of these offenses are hopefully equipping to give us a shootout that we deserve this week. Because 46.5 is also a spot where I'd like to go on the over because I'm interested to see what Penix does in a pace-up spot because last week it wasn't. It was pretty genius by Atlanta actually to start the rookie at home against a team that just has not really been there all year in general. Penix I thought looked good. He turned the ball over, but it was really because of Kyle Pitts, who is like the bust of the last 5 years.
36, 24, 36.
Yikes.
That's what we should just start referring to him as. Don't even call him Kyle Pitts. Just 34, 26, 34. That's it.
Yikes. But yeah, anyway. So I thought Penix looked fine. You know what I'm saying? He'll throw over 200 yards and just again, just being able to piece together the offense a lot better, look a lot more spry. And it's nothing against Kirk Cousins per se. It's just Kirk Cousins just cannot do this offense that they're looking to do. He needed to be a lot more nimble on his feet. There was times where we saw that. But then with Michael Penix, you just saw he was just boom, 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 just hitting everything he needed to when he needed to. So I'm looking forward to a nice game between these guys. Commanders, Jaden Daniels, two rookies, baby. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
But yeah, look, Commanders, Jaden Daniels side of things. I don't know. Look, I guess, the Falcons have to win this game, I think, in order to make sure that they're locked in for the postseason. So taking the Falcons here, that's an upset. Taking the underdog is the upset. I think Michael Penix has some dog within him, and I look forward to seeing what he does tonight. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. But because I love Jaden Daniels. We called him all season. Talked about him in the offseason, talked about, look, this is the guy. If you're going to grab a QB later on, this would be the guy, and look what's going on. Just been looking spectacular. But I do think the Falcons need to win this game. Both of these teams are in pretty similar spots when it comes to team concepts. But I do think Michael Penix has a game. So we'll see what happens. But what you got for us, Johnny?
Yeah, man. This game is going to be interesting to all the points that you called out. I think Michael Penix is the Kirk Cousins, the elite Kirk Cousins of Kirk Cousins. That was my comp the entire time. He is a better version of Kirk Cousins. I've said it from the jump. There's obviously going to be, again, reoccurring theme for this week. There's going to be weather here. There's going to be gust up to 30 miles an hour, but around 10 to 15 is where it's going to stay at consistently. So I don't know how impactful the passing games are going to be, or if it is going to play that big of a role. If it doesn't, then obviously we know the Atlanta Falcons, they can line up and they can run the football really well with their running backs. However, the Commanders' run game as a whole, with Jaden Daniels, with Brian Robinson, with that crew, is a little bit different. So overall, schematically, I think the Commanders have a better run game. They don't have the better running back. So there's that. And then I think one of the other things, man, I just want to call out real quick, man, because I think it can get lost and just kind of, a little bit of a preview in terms of what Nick and I are going to do next. But Terry McLaurin, let's give it up for him in the year that he's had here, man. It's been awesome to see this. I think
Finally.
Yeah, well, dude, is it really his fault though?
No, I'm not saying it's him. It's just a situation.
It's just great to see, man, for sure. But if if I think the Falcons will be able to keep this game close, though, man. I think again, man, their defense has been playing better than what people have been giving them credit for. Like I've been talking about it over the last few weeks about how that defense has looked. Teams haven't really been able to slow Jaden Daniels down. So I'm not saying that the Falcons are going to be able to stop him, but like I think they can kind of keep him under control and under wraps. They're a little bit lighter. So it'll be interesting to see how the Falcons fare outside of the dome and on grass. But overall, man, like I said, I think I agree with you, man. Like the Falcons got to win. So I think the Falcons can keep this one close here with the 3.5. So I would take the Falcons with the 3.5. And then if you are playing on FanDuel today, obviously, don't forget that this game is actually part of the main slate. So yeah, I can't even see it. But this game is a part of the main slate here. I won't even mess with the ownership stuff because it'll take me 100 years to get back. But yeah, this is one of the games on the main slate here. So like one of the plays for me initially was Bijan Robinson, was where I was leaning at, and then I kind of pivoted over to James Cook. But I do think this is a place where Bijan could get busy here, as we talked about with the elements here in this game.
Yep. Makes sense.
Last call
on both sides.
Last call too, man. Washington, 140 yards rushing being given up by them over the last 3 weeks. So again, man, and then explosive runs, they're actually ranked number 2 here on this slate for that. So like, again, like a lot of data pointing towards Bijan Robinson or even potentially a Tyler Algier sighting. I know people don't want to hear that, but like, it's something to consider here. I know it's something to consider.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's something to consider for sure.
Oh boy, yo. No, don't put that in the atmosphere. Jeez, what's wrong with you?
You know, I just got to be here for the people.
Just,
yeah.
Why? Just why? Why'd you say that?
I'm sorry.
Monday Night Football. Another game where implications are on the line here. In terms of the Lions keeping pace, the Niners pretty much know are already out. Lions we keep pace for the 1 seed. The Niners are out, so the Niners don't have as much things to play for. But you know, Dan Campbell keeps receipts, if you don't remember. So yeah, they kept receipt against Dallas. Smack that booty. And then now they get the Niners. They lost to in the divisional, conference final last year, and in a game that they had in hand. Not hand, but they were up like 17 that game or something.
Yeah, they were up big going into. They were up big in that game.
Away.
Yep.
Damn shame. That's what happened. But yeah, look, Lions 3.5. I don't think that's enough. I think the Lions are going to win by more than that. I don't know David Montgomery for the Lions. I know they're beat up on defense, but I do think that in order to keep pace for the 1 seed and control things how they want to control through Detroit, makes sense for them to beat them and beat them bad. Niners, as far as the Niners are concerned, they are still a team that are going to be competitive in this game. But no Trent Williams. I'm not sure about Nick Bosa. But both of those guys have been, unfortunately, just guys that they've had to have in order to be really killing it. But they just have not been. They haven't been available. So. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not sure about Nick Bosa's status yet. I will check that now.
Looks like he's healthy, ready to go.
All right. So it makes sense. The 50.5 is a little steep in terms of I think the Lions can definitely. I think I might just take the Lion team total then. If I might probably just do take out overside, I think the over Lions are probably 28.5 of this. I'm going to double check that too. Yep, 27.5. They have plus money on FanDuel, by the way. So yeah, plus money at the 27.5. I think that could easily be the play there for me. What do you say to this game, Johnny, in terms of all things considered? I have a matchup where 4 of these guys are playing in this game. Talk about stress. Like, I'm so done with season long. So done with this.
Well, listen, that's one of the luxuries I now have,
So
being
done.
completely eliminated from every league that I'm in, with the exception of one. Is I don't have the stress now, so I just get to play DFS, and my team already is on a losing streak. My college team is out. My NBA team, the best players hurt. Yeah, so hey, man, I'm just living my best life, carefree. I think like the obviously goes without saying, man, like the guy, we got to be talking about is Jahmyr Gibbs. We just seen what your boy Devon Achane just did against the Niners last week. You got to think, man, very, very similar profile to Achane is Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think like we see this here, and this was kind of last year during the playoff run. This is kind of where we started to see and started to be reminded that, like, all right, this was the Lions plan all along, was to kind of preserve Jahmyr Gibbs, get him to the playoffs, and then, hey, like open it up for him. So I think we'll see that again today, on Monday night. I think we'll see that for sure. Sam Laporte has woken up a little bit, which I think, more likely than not, if you drafted him where you drafted him, you were probably out of it unless you traded for him or whatnot. But the 49ers have actually been, let's see here. Well, yeah, they actually have not been very good. Or actually have been good, sorry. 37 yards in receiving. I'm sorry, I was looking at him and Jameson Williams both, and I'm like, my eyes are crossing. But yeah, like obviously he's there, but then you also flip it over to the other side of the field. You have George Kittle there, who has actually been the one consistent tight end, the one upper echelon tight end, I should say, that's been the most consistent out of that group this year. And he was probably somebody that, like, people weren't drafting aggressively. He was like the last one out of that tier of tight ends, and he's been the one that's had the biggest ROI. I know some people are still believing in Debo here in this situation, so like,
don't say that name.
I mean, listen, the 49ers again, man. I think I'd seen something about one of the DBs that like they were playing was like 5'8" or something like that right there, which is absolutely terrible for my man Juwan Jennings. Well, it's terrible for him going against Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel as well. So, yeah, man, like I think this game could definitely go back and forth for sure. But like I like Jahmyr Gibbs is the one that really stands out to me here in this game for sure. And I agree with you. Dan Campbell does keep receipts. And don't be surprised if it's a quick 50 burger or a 40 burger up there if the game starts to get out of control. But I do like the Lions a lot in this game, and they should be able to pull this one out. And then after this, everybody in San Francisco will be on ice for Week 18.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, look, the Niners are 6-9, 69, right?
Giggity.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Now we're gonna talk about locking the slate. So, guys, we're looking at for DFS. Man, it's 11:30, Johnny.
We're doing good, bro. We're doing good. We're doing good, man. We're doing good.
But we got locking the slate coming for you guys. So, guys that we're talking about in terms of DFS, guys that we're gonna want to plug and play for our lineups for these DFS slate. So, Johnny, what you got on your side of things when it comes to a player or two we're locking in, players that you really love that maybe just barely missed some of your lineups, and guys you're nervous about that might go off? Who knows?
The guy, like I told you, that I really, really like this week, man, is James Cook. I just think like a lot of people are not playing him. I think like it's very easy to overlook him. And like we're in week 17 of the season, and he's been an RB1, and he's coming in at like 5 or 6% owned. So like for me, I think that's just a great place to gain leverage on the field overall. And then as far as wide receivers go, I like my Green Bay Packer wide receivers. I'm going to get back to them again. Romeo Dobbs. I'll even throw Jaden Reed in there as well as Tucker Kraft. So I like the pass catchers for the Packers, which obviously means I got to like Jordan Love. And I mentioned it, man. I think two guys that like we might not love that it's going to feel dirty playing them, but like don't be surprised when they give you a positive ROI. And that's Mac Jones and Bryce Young. And really, especially again, if the weather stays under control, yes. If it doesn't, then obviously we got the shootout in the dome with the Packers and the Vikings. One guy that like this is the first time in 15 weeks I'm going to say this. I don't feel scared about not playing a lot of Saquon Barkley today. I don't feel not scared about it at all. I just think like the Cowboys, I think they've done a really good job. I think they'll continue to do a really good job. And I think anyway, I know. Listen, I know. Listen.
You're trying to make yourself look like something, huh?
No, I'm not.
One way or another.
I'm not.
Listen.
Listen. Hey, man. Listen. Here's the deal. When you got a front row seat on the Saquon Barkley train, when you've been on it since before the season even started, you can make this call. Like, he's been my guy. And I just feel like, again, it's not that I don't feel like he's going to have a good game. I just think his price tag, he's going to have a hard time.
You don't think the ceiling game's here today?
The ceiling game is not here. And then also, too, as well, like I said, like in order for him to 4X this game, man, I think it's going to be tough, like for sure. Right. So that's where I'm at, like overall, like with just a few of the players. And then
34-4 he'll need on DraftKings for the 4X, like the 30, 3.5 for the 30, which he had last game.
Okay, but okay, so see, this is how we end up running long right here. Is we end up trying to counter each other, but like I just I'm
not countering. I'm just
it's really
a risky proposition.
It's a risky proposition, right? But like when you have a slate that is what it is right now, where it is a 7-game slate. Like again, like I said, man, like you got to take chances, man. Like you got, and like I'm playing in 2 different tournaments, and like I'm still at the same with both of them. If you're playing in 2 different tournaments, fade him in one, ball him out in the other one. But like just for me, I have a really hard time seeing it today. That's my hot take, I guess, man. I'll leave it at that.
Makes sense. I think when it comes to just like this slate, like you said, it's definitely there's angles you're looking at and trying to not look overdue or, like, hey, just take what's coming. But yeah, look, Jonathan Taylor, 7,900, like it's probably pretty much the chocolate slate. I do like your pivot on James Cook. I think when it comes to Bucky Irving, like people need to definitely play him at 6,700. Yes. Like, he's our cover boy for a reason. And we want all things Bucky Irving today because look, like Tampa Bay, it's winner go home today. And, they're playing playoff football already. So in a game where this game was definitely a little bit more than what we bargained for the last game, I think we're hoping that same thing happens. But Bucky Irving, 6,700, he should be a 7K player today. He should be the same price as James Cook today. When it comes to value purposes, receiver definitely looks a little bit more like sketchier today because it's like you got Jefferson, which I'm all opposed to you playing Jefferson any day of the week. So I love that. But then it's AJ Brown 7,800, it's Mike Evans 7,500, and then it's Adams, it's Tyreek Hill 6,900. There's not a ton of like higher tier receiver plays today. But you go with Jay Reed for the price, like makes a ton of sense for me. 5,900, you expect the Vikings play zone coverage, third most in the NFL, and Reed ripped these guys the last time. So you're just hoping that, more of a competitive game like we talked about before. It's like I don't think people are going to be on Jaden Reed enough just because of he's been inconsistent all year, because the Packers have not been in situations where they've been tossing the football consistently, playing behind in games. It makes a ton of sense for Jaden Reed at 5,900 to do what he needs to do. Josh Downs, obviously very popular at 4,800, but it's because Flacco's in, and we all know that Colts offense is different versus the where the Anthony Richardson's playing quarterback. So Josh Downs, definitely 4,800. He's pretty much a guy that you should lock in as well. So Irving, Reed, and also Downs for me are pretty much the core 3 play today. If you want to go there, I think Hawkinson at 4,500 makes a ton of sense as well in a game that we think that is definitely the over under of the game. Probably a ton of ways things go really chalky. But I think in terms of tight end wise, that makes sense. Quarterback wise, it's definitely sketchy as well. But someone that's going to go under 5% is Mason Rudolph. He's looked a little bit better since starting. So he's not going to he's not going to go. He may not go off for like 30, but we talked about it all season. Jaguars defense has been awful. They're still 30th in DVOA when it comes to defense versus position and all these metrics. So that being said, like Mason Rudolph winning GPPs, I don't know about that, but hey, playing for a salary, $5K, and then you can do everything else. So, but yeah, look, this slate is not very giving, especially all the over-unders down, getting watered down, and all these players, like you said, the start of meaningless football. So, this is where we're at. So, but yeah, moving on. So we got, next slate. Sorry, next segment we got, of course, no one else, the Nick Prop Shop. We are 106 and 92 on the year, so that makes us back to 55% on the year. And record-wise, pretty much broke almost close to even last week. The 4 o'clock games were a mess last week. Like, ton of spots that I was right on to do and put my money on, but sometimes it just happens. In terms of just like record-wise and all that, just we put our chips where we need to, but it is what it is. I had 6-8 week last week, and it is what it is. But on to today's props. We got the 1 p.m. slot. So we got the top 3 bets we'll go over. That's the top 3 I like overall on the slate. So we're going with Chicago over 38.5 receiving yards. Look, back-to-back games, double-digit targets, and Chicago has looked like Mason Rudolph's favorite weapon. The rain hopefully holds up. But this line's still a little too low, even for a tight end, because he's short area targets, stuff like that. Bucky Irving over 104 rushing receiving yards. Like, this line is definitely going up. I saw this line 104 last night. Now it's like 106, 107 across the board. That doesn't scare me. I just think that just be mindful of what book you're taking it on. And then Breece Hall over 25 rushing yards. Also like the catches here. Buffalo is, their defense right now is still second most when it comes to receptions allowed to running backs. They do defensive wise, they funnel to a ton of short areas, stuff. So definitely like Breece Hall when it comes to receiving yards, because last time they played 56 receiving yards for Breece Hall. And he overall did it in pretty decent fashion. So there's that. The 1 p.m. slate we go to, like I said, we go to a little bit of a single game parlay if you want. But like I said, Bucky Irving 104.5 rush receiving. I got that line last night on FanDuel. Leggett over 32.5 receiving yards. That line I think went up a few yardage, but Thielen also in the same volume, 56.5 receiving yards. Bucks allow 7th most receiving yards to receivers on the season. And it was evident to when they played in the last game. So I think Leggett, younger horse, I'm saying a Thielen, veteran horse. And so I think both of these guys can get there. Bryce Young is definitely look more capable of a quarterback this season. Chig, like we talked about earlier, but Ridley 63.5 receiving yards.
Don't even.
It wouldn't be a season-ending finale for fantasy football without Calvin Ridley going off, right? 63.5 receiving yards. The Jaguars, they're still second when allowing the most deep balls received on the year. And then Brian Thomas Jr., this guy is stellar. Mac Jones, made him look really good. But Brian Thomas, no matter who's been the quarterback this season, PTJ has done this line. He has surpassed this line, I believe, in 3 of the last 4. And now gets a Titans matchup where, again, not too, So 3 straight games of him doing this line, 1 yard off from doing it in 4 straight. But yeah, played Tennessee a couple weeks ago. He hit this line as well on 12 targets and 8 catches. So we know Brian Thomas Jr. should still be within the realm of definitely hitting that line, relatively easy with ease. Again, we all talked about this before. Jaguar receiver core is definitely hit for a ton of things, so they definitely need Brian Thomas to step up. If they're going to be anything competitive in this game. Moving on, we got the Jets. Rodgers over 222 passing yards. And Brees Hall, we talked about earlier. Rodgers, he has been absolutely the one to, like I said, he's playing for his life when it comes to his career. And he's going to keep slinging the football, whether it be to Adams and whether it be Garrett Wilson. Speaking of that, Garrett Wilson potentially asking for a trade if Rodgers is not, if Rodgers is with the team next year. Which,
Mike Tomlin said I can fix him.
God. Aren't you guys extending Russ Wilson?
Hey, we can fix him. We can fix him.
Oh,
we can fix him.
You guys are something else, yeah. But in terms of Rodgers, yeah, look, he's got to keep throwing the football. Buffalo has been in games where we saw him, first of all, Rodgers averaged this line in the last, any game he's playing this season, he's averaged 240 pass yards on a year. So this should be a game where, again, just going to have to throw the football, and Buffalo's got to, make sure they keep pace and make sure that they don't let the ball drop a little bit like they did versus the Patriots last week.
Good.
But the game's in Buffalo, so this could be a game where, Rodgers no slouch to colder weather, but still could be a game where, I think Rodgers can easily hit this game, especially if the pace is back and forth. Cooper Rush over 189 pass yards. Cooper Rush has done this every single game he started. No CeeDee Lamb, but Cooper Rush has still looked pretty capable QB wise in terms of production. So I'm not too scared of the line here. 189 in a game where you're hoping that the game can go back and forth a little bit more, even though we're at 37.5 over under. I still think this line's just a little too low for what Cooper Rush has done since he's started. Josh Downs over 59.5 receiving yards. Look, Josh Downs hit this line every single time Flacco started this season. And he's done it pretty decently when it comes to just getting a ton of volume as well. So the catches, I believe I saw, if you see 4.5 on some of your books, I'd love to take that. I saw most books I saw was 5.5 for Josh Downs when it comes to receptions, and it was definitely highly juiced. So that's why I went with receiving yards with 59.5 over under. And then Tajay Spears over 22.5 receiving yards. No Tony Pollard today. And we get a little different here with Tajay Spears. He is definitely a receiving back, and he will be the one to overall do this. When it comes to matchups, the Jags still be, again, a defense that we love to target. So definitely love that line for Tajay Spears. To the 4 o'clock game, again, not too much to talk about, but I got something for you. Whether you want to take pieces of this, whether you want to take pieces of this or you want to just combine them all, feel free to do so. The Vikings-Packers. So we have a single game parlay here. So Aaron Jones over 63.5 rush yards. Look, playing Green Bay. Little revenge, still a revenge sort of eyes thing for him, I feel. Jaden Reed, talked about him earlier, over 3.5 catches. He did that with ease last time, and he also did receiving yards as well earlier on. Again, this was, we talked about with Jordan Love and segue into him, over 252 pass yards. He had 389 last time. So I think the Packers, like we talked about, hopefully game script goes in which they are this game is definitely the back and forth what we need. And if it does, Reed should be heavily involved without Watson today. And then Jefferson over 6.5 catches. Like, he's hit this line since they finally started getting the football a little bit more. Deservingly so, I would say. But I will say that, Josh Jefferson going to hit this line pretty much with ease. Just because, the Packers are stutter defense as of late. But Jefferson always gets up against the Packers. So that being said, those are the props for this week. If there's any more props I'll hit you guys out. If you guys are following us on X, Twitter, we like to say, please do so. Because we'll overall give you guys information as well. DM us, stuff like that too. We are around. So, Johnny, any final thoughts for this week, the last week of the fantasy football in general for season-long leagues, or any advice that you want to give, anything you want to shout out?
I got nothing really. I always say I got nothing, and then I go into my rant. I say nothing, and then I go into my rant. No, man, I just think like obviously like weather, like that's something to make sure you're paying attention to. Again, man, just basic fundamental stuff. Make sure you have your later players playing in your flex spots. Earlier players in their singular position, so that way if the weather gets bad later on in the day, you can make the needed adjustments. Don't be afraid to get aggressive and play some cat and mouse games in terms of picking players up and things like that, kickers, defenses, stuff like that, to kind of keep them on ice for waiver if you need to, if you have the free spots. Overall, man, again, like I think weather plays a big factor in this game today. We're at a place where it almost feels like we're playing a preseason slate right now when we're talking about guys like Rattler and Cooper Rush and Mac Jones. It feels very preseason-ish today, but that's where we're at. But also too, man, like this is a time, man, like one of the reoccurring themes we've had all year long is their running backs have been the running backs this year. So don't be surprised, man, if they take you to the promised land this week. Pass catchers might not be there for you this week, so just kind of keep that in mind. That's really it, man. And then obviously, man, just much appreciation to everybody tuning in, man, to the show for sure. This is our last season-long show. We've got some other things coming up, man, for the playoffs. And then we got like a couple of recap things like we'll talk to you guys about, and just like, where we were right, where we were wrong, where we wish we were right, where we wish we were wrong at. Just a year, basically a season recap, if you will, here coming up soon. So just be on the lookout for that, man. But otherwise than that, man, it's been good.
Oh, it's been great. In terms of just like this year, like, just giving the show out to you guys every week, like coming at you guys with things, and we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always taking advice and feedback. So if you guys ain't that as well, feel free to do so. But in terms of this slate goes, like, yeah, this is a barn burner.
It's not a barn burner. The barn has been burned.
If anyone catches my drift on that one. But yeah, look, like I think there's spots that we talked about earlier that we're liking more than others, and then just if you want to get just different, this is also a slate you can definitely do so, because following the status quo here could also burn you as well, because these things can happen. It's football. That being said, yeah, it's been a great year. Season long wise, it's not how I really pictured the ending. But hopefully we end out with a bang. Hopefully, my HM prayers are answered today, and hopefully my Barkley ones are as well. Yeah. That's all I got for you guys. So we look forward to seeing you guys in the next show. The next show we'll see you guys in the new year, because that'll be the next show we got. Because there's no longer any more season-long stuff to continue. The next show we will have for season-long purposes, though, will be to talk about all players and picks and recaps and stuff like that of what got right, what went wrong, what we should have done just a tad differently, stuff like that. It's hard predicting the future, people. But yeah, next show is January 5th. So that'll be the new year, 2025, people. So week 18 picks, bets, and props show. We'll have for you guys and talk about meaningless football. We'll still be talking about it in terms of just like, who's there, who's playing for incentives, who's not, like, people could be jockeying for position for playoff spots. We'll have to look more deeper into that as well. So definitely come out and showcase, your overall support for us, and we definitely appreciate y'all. So next time we'll see you guys. Happy New Year. Happy 2025 to y'all. And we'll see you guys in the new year. Peace.